WhiteFog Artificial Cloud Technology presents its program for combating agricultural frost.
Hello dear all, welcome to Koi TV. We are with you with a new episode of our agricultural frost control program. Today we are in Manisa, Akisa. With us there are Emre Bozdogan, owner of WhiteFog Company, and Gürol Parmaksiz, the marketing manager. Welcome. Could you tell us a little about yourselves?
Thank you, Mr. Onur. I am the owner of the company WhiteFog, the manufacturer of machines for combating agricultural frost, and Mr. Gürol is our marketing manager.
Hello, my name is Gürol Parmaksiz. Welcome.
Thank you. Agricultures are now entering to the period of agricultural frost. In fact, in our country, it is one of the issues that our farmers especially need to pay attention to in March and April. Now, because frost is a natural disaster, we need to carry out some external interventions. And as a company, you have developed frost combat machines. We will explain to our viewers how these machines are used and also discuss the general features of these machines. Our farmers will first think of protection capacity, so let's begin by discussing this. What exactly is the protection capacity that this product provides us?
First, Mr. Onur, we have a total of 3 distinct machine models: small-sized, medium-sized, and large-sized. The area where we are currently standing is the olive field in Manisa, Akisa region. We are in Mr. Alper Alhat's olive fields here. Unfortunately, olive producers in Akisa, Manisa experienced significant losses last year. Similarly, not only in Akisa, but throughout Turkey, an agricultural frost disaster occurred last year in 65 provinces, unfortunately. According to the statements from Tarsim and the Ministry of Agriculture, a compensation amounting to 22 billion Turkish lira for loss risk has been paid to agricultures. This is an extremely significant figure. As a manufacturing company, we operate with a production philosophy that aims to significantly reduce these damages. The SM600 model is our compact-size fogging machine. It's designed to be hand-portable. This model is for land areas ranging from 1.5 to 3 hectares, which corresponds to 15 to 30 decares. Next, we have SM700 model, which is a medium-sized machine larger than the SM600, carried on tractor or any pickup.
Bigger than SM600?
Yes, that's right, Mr. Onur. It's a model we recommend for areas between 5 to 10 hectares, in other words, 50 to 100 decares. And lastly, we have the Ultrafogger model. Ultrafogger model is the largest and strongest commercially produced thermal fog machine exists in the entire world. There is absolutely no other commercial product available globally which has a superior fogging performance than Ultrafogger. We designed this machine to combat agricultural frost in ultra-large areas, to make farmers gain time and increase frost protection. The Ultrafogger model is also surprisingly cost-effective to a great degree. I will go over the cost calculation for it in a moment. Ultrafogger has a frost protection capacity between 100 to 200 decares, 10 to 20 hectares. A single Ultrafogger machine, all by itself, can protect 200 decares of land from frost. Normally, if frost fans need to be installed on a 20 hectare, at least 4 frost fans are needed to protect that big area from frost. So the Ultra Fogger model is approximately 10 times more cost effective than agricultural frost fans.
So this is a highly effective machine, both in terms of its frost protection performance and in lower costs. Now, we've mentioned large capacities here, like 10 to 20 hectares protection with one single machine. Could we elaborate this subject a bit more?
Of course, we recommend deploying 1 unit of machine per its recommended protection size and parcel the machine to this zone only. For example, Ultra Fogger machine is designed for maximum 20 hectares. This is because in the fight against agricultural frost, there is a critical race against time. Therefore, a single machine must be able to revisit and refog the same area within a 30-minute. If one Ultra Fogger operates in 50 hectares, it would return back to the start point after 1 or 2 hours. This means frost will have already damaged the crops. Thus, the importance of proper parceling and using Ultra Fogger in maximum 20 hectare is important. Frost is a race against time. I will explain with an analogy so that farmers will quickly understand. Think it as a spray paint gun. The more you put a layer in one spot in every 30 minutes, the more you've antifreeze oiled the plants and significantly enhanced its protection from frost by creating a dense fog.
So the critical point here is actually time management. The earlier we arrive to the initial start point and pass another layer, the better it is. That way, frost protection is fortified.
Of course, the machine moving around is very important. It is not a case of just putting the machine static at one point, letting it fog from there. The more the operator maneuvers it, the more it repeatedly fogs the area like a spray paint gun. This means higher rate of frost protection and dense fog. Because the smoke particles, since they are vegetable glycerin oil-based, they cover the flower's surroundings with a layer of oil. That increases its resistance to cold and also its durability to frost.
We mentioned that resistance to cold increases, but the first question that actually comes to mind is up to what temperature it is effective.
Sure. On this subject, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Gurol, our marketing manager. He himself addressed these issues extensively in Koi TV's morning broadcasts and evening news.
I want to emphasize that our machines are very effective and they can be utilized in every sector for every type of agricultural crops, products, orchards, before blossom or after blossom. So it's not limited to just olives. The sprayed fog stays suspended in the air for 3 hours and protects the land from frost for 3 hours. Machines deliver full frost protection up to -7 degrees Celsius and provides partial protection if the frost is colder than -7.
As Mr. Emery himself so clearly articulated, during the devastating frost events happened last year, we, as consumers, couldn't consume a wide variety of fruits. When you also consider the substantial financial losses that our agricultures endured, 100% protection from frost up to -7 degrees is truly a very reassuring and highly satisfactory figure. So, as we describe these machines here, we will also demonstrate exactly how they function shortly. Mr. Emre also brought up the topic of frost fans. Currently, there are various frost fight methods, technologies, even traditional methods like burning hay or old tires right in the middle of the field. When we compare your machine and their efficiency in frost fight, what are their key difference from the other different frost fight methods?
I already stated that our technology is indeed much more effective than any other existing methods. For instance, if you were to burn hay or old tires, you would only produce a dry, diluted smoke, not dense and humid enough. It might have a slight temporary effect on the plants closest to the fire, but it certainly won't be able to reach the entirety of the field. And furthermore, whatever material you choose to burn, there's a high probability that it will cause damage to the surrounding vegetation. Not every smoke has the capacity from protecting frost. 1. It must be at a specific micron size. 2. It shouldn't be dry smoke. 3. It must be dense. The fog dispersed from our machines protect the land from frost in 3 different ways. Our artificial cloud acts as a reflector. Droplets are between 0 and 100 microns, hence in perfect range for reflecting back the warm air to the ground. Second, machines vaporize oil at a perfect heat without too much cooking the antifreeze oil, so the fog is not dry. The vegetable oil coats temporarily leaf, plant, bud, and flower for 12 hours, providing an antifreeze effect. After 12 hours, the vegetable oil coat disappears.
Third protection that it supplies is the inversion method. Cold air is heavy, has tendency to sink on crops downwards, and warm air on the ground is light and escapes to the atmosphere. Our artificial cloud layer prevents the cold air mass sit on the crops, and simultaneously prevents the warm air on the ground escape to the atmosphere.
May I also add something, Mr. Gurol? Mr. Onur, everything Mr. Gurol has said is absolutely correct, and I would like to elaborate in detail these topics now.
There are multiple methods that our farmers use in frost fighting in agriculture. The first method used is the frost fan. The second method used is the sprinkle, in other words, irrigation system. The third method used is burning straw or tires, and the fourth method is using fumigation machines that run on gas. So what is the difference of artificial cloud technology created with WhiteFog thermal fogger machine that we have here, which is powered by a pulse jet engine, from all the other frost fight methods? I would like to explain that to you here. For instance, let's start with frost fans. They combat with frost by mixing the cold and warm air. But frost fans' frost protection capacity is limited. They can be efficient up to -4 degrees. At temperatures of -5 and -6 degrees, unfortunately, the frost fan appears to become ineffective. This is because the warm air, which would normally be able to mix with the cold air, is no longer present in those low degrees. Briefly, the frost fan is effective up to -4 degrees. On top of this limitation, it has operational and functional drawbacks. Let me tell you its disadvantages. Firstly, it requires construction site labor and electrical installation. If there is no electrical infrastructure, a generator is required. However, generators may malfunction, leaving the farmer helpless. Additionally, in strong winds, the fan enters self-protection mode and cannot operate effectively. Also, most importantly, fans cannot be moved around. Farmers usually possess more than one land, frost risk location can change, yet they can't move the fan. Our machines are portable. Unfortunately, it is not the case with frost fans. Dismantling the fans from one location to another requires at least 1 or 2 months. Hence, WhiteFog machines are highly advantageous compared to traditional frost fans due to their portable nature. Secondly, our machines provide much greater frost protection. One single ultra fogger protects up to 20 hectares, whereas 4 to 5 frost fans would be needed to cover the same 20 hectares area, as each fan can protect only 3 to 5 hectares on average.
This also means that as the land size grows, the energy source must be moved to different locations, which is not always feasible under all conditions.
Absolutely. While some growers prefer the frost fan method, it is important to evaluate both its strengths and its limitations. Our device provides full protection from frost down to -7 degrees beyond frost fans. And at lower temperatures than -7, still a partial protection can be achieved with our machines, depending on the oil used. If a farmer sees -10 degrees, instead of risking a full loss of their crop, they might lose 30% and save 70%, for instance. Recommended hectare size where the machine is used, oil type, and operator's expertise, they are all very important for a successful frost fight. For more details, farmers can read the information given on our webpage. All is very well explained, www.whitefog.com. Now, in frost fight, there's also the sprinkler, irrigation method. The sprinkler system works by watering plants to moisten them, protecting them from cold, and gaining heat. But unfortunately, it can only provide protection up to a temperature of -4 degrees. The reason is, when temperatures drop to -5, -6, or -7 degrees, the sprinkling system, unfortunately, can cause even more damage to the plants and trees than protecting them. Our farmers have experienced this. When sprinkling is done at -7 degrees, not only the flower or bud, even the tree's trunk can unfortunately crack and burn due to frost. This is the disadvantage of the sprinkling system. The farmer sprinkles, hoping the temperature will reach -4 degrees. However, when it dropped to -7 degrees, there were huge disasters, just like last year. Hence, there's a significant risk of losing the entire crop and the trees. At the same time, there's a possibility the water pump could malfunction. When the water pump malfunctions, similarly, just as I said, it's not only the flowers and buds, but the tree's trunk itself can also burn, Mr. Onur. There's also the frost fight method, burning straw and burning tires. The significant drawback of burning both straw and tires is the following, because when it burns with an open flame, with fire, Mr. Onur, a molecular decomposition occurs, which means chemical substance, physical substance happening. Just like in cigarette burning, very fine smoke particles are released. The micron diameter of such smoke is homogeneous and around 1 micron diameter. Because the particles are broken down by fire, but our machines, instead of fire, use heat to vapor raw oil. So it doesn't fully cook the oil, and hence particles are between 1 and 100 microns. If the oil was cooked, it would be ineffective, just like the smoke of straw or rubber. Our machine heats the oil at 400 degrees. This way we ensure the oil is not dry smoke, and hence we benefit from the antifreeze property of the oil. Our antifreeze fog covers every flower and bud, creates a strong resistance to cold, preventing any ice formation. Where this machine is used, frost simply does not form, Mr. Onur. So, machine is incomparably more advanced and a different method than burning straw or rubber. Now, lastly, we said there are also other types of smoking machines available on the market working on LPG. I see in the market, on social media, that there's heavy marketing done for LPG-powered agricultural frost protection machine. However, I absolutely recommend that our farmers, when purchasing a fogging machine, do so consciously by first learning and understanding the underlying theory and logic behind its operation. The reason is, the substance we call LPG already freezes at -1 degree. An LPG-powered fogging machine absolutely cannot exist. It's very impractical. If a machine is to be manufactured, it must be gasoline or diesel one. It cannot be electric either. It cannot be battery-powered either, because its heat output would be insufficient. For fog machines, the most important factor to consider is the oil consumption performance. Mr. Onur, a machine's success and professionalism are measured by how much oil it consumes per hour. For this reason, let's consider a fogging machine that operates with LPG. When LPG freezes, the farmer must immerse it in hot water to make the LPG liquid again. How long can the hot water remain warm in the basin in that -5 degree cold? In my opinion, it won't last a minute, and the farmer could end up suffering. That's why I strongly advise them to evaluate the machine they'll buy based on technical criteria and standards.
We've compared your machines with other frost fight methods. We also briefly explained the fundamental operating principles of each. Our farmers will ask now, when we use your machines, will there be a guaranteed outcome?
Mr. Onur, if the machine is operating and performing its fumigation activity, it means it has successfully fulfilled its duty. The oil choice made by the operator here is extremely important. For instance, some of our farmers choose to use diesel oil. It should be understood that diesel only provides protection down to -4 degrees. Diesel fuel cannot provide protection at temperatures below -4 degrees. The reason is, diesel, due to its chemical composition, is not water-based. It cannot mix with water. To observe this, our farmers should put diesel fuel into a transparent container, add water to it. The diesel would rise to the top, the water would settle to the bottom. They wouldn't mix. It's like oil rising to the surface and water sinking to the bottom. This means diesel possesses no antifreeze properties. If they use vegetable glycerin, it will provide more effective frost protection due to its antifreeze properties. I just say this to point out that the operator's oil choice in frost combat is very important. Secondly, how much they circulate the machine around and repeat fogging is important. The parceling is very important. If an operator uses one ultra fogger machine specifically designed to protect maximum 20 hectares in 50 hectares, the frost fight success rate would undoubtedly decrease. Therefore, by following the application instructions given on whitefog.com, which we prepared based on scientific facts and technical expertise, farmers can significantly increase the frost protection rate even at the lowest temperatures.
Briefly, what you are saying is that the operator's role is as significant as the machine's. When the instructions are followed, there will be no room for any worries, and successful frost fight is guaranteed.
Absolutely. For example, last year we went to Turgutlu region for frostfight intervention. We went with 4 vehicles. Every operator had radios and thermal cameras. Frostfight is a teamwork. You are fighting against nature itself. This isn't just a normal combat, it is challenging. The number of machines used, the number of operators, coordination between operators, detecting right the wind blowing direction, these are all extremely important factors. All of these details are clearly outlined on our website and in our user manuals.
As you said, when these factors are applied correctly, the frostfight success rate increases. Farmers, when cultivating a crop, actually know how to consider weather conditions, soil structure, the fertilizer to use, plants' needs. So they have the field experience and hence some knowledge on frost happening in their region too. Now let's pass to a subject that I would like to detail. We mentioned diesel, we mentioned vegetable glycerin oil as fog liquid. Perhaps things can be a little confusing for the farmers. Therefore, I would like to clarify again. Can you please tell us which liquid should we to use to generate fog?
Yes, some of our farmers, if they want, can use diesel fuel down to -4 degrees. However, I must add diesel is a petroleum-based product, and because it is a petroleum product, we do not advise its use. Up to -4 degree, if farmers are in a difficulty like no time for supplying glycerin, they could use diesel. I tell our farmers not to choose diesel and to choose vegetable glycerin instead. Sometimes the farmer responds to me, the municipality uses it for pest control spraying, so why shouldn't I use? The farmer is right too. Now, if temperature is expected to be colder than -4 degrees, the oil choice needs to be made with more strictness. Use vegetable glycerin oil, not diesel, and the glycerin must be a special glycerin with antifreeze ingredients. This special glycerin is a mixture of vegetable glycerin plus glycol plus demineralized water. All of these details are extensively written on our website. We refer to this oil as antifreeze oil, and we supply it. This oil possesses the longest lasting de-icing and moisturizing capabilities. Additional to this antifreeze oil, Mr. Onur, we strongly advise the use of a specialized aviation oil just before the sunrise. This will neutralize the conduction damage. What exactly is aviation oil? Aviation oil has a long molecular chain structure which allows aerobatic planes to draw hearts, etc. in the air during Republic Day celebrations. Those hearts can remain visible for approximately 20 to 30 minutes. I recommend this aircraft oil be used for only 1 hour or so, right when the red light appears as the sun rises in the morning. Let's summarize. For weather colder than -4 degrees, during night use antifreeze mixture, vegetable glycerin, glycol, and water. At sunrise use aircraft oil just for 1 or 2 hours. This particular combination is designed as a dual protection purpose system. The specialized antifreeze oil works to significantly delay the effects of the cold until morning. This actively prevents the plant from freezing. The aviation oil, on the other hand, delays the heat at that peak temperature moment when the sun rises. So one delays the cold and the other delays the heat. If the farmer applies this dual combination, they significantly increase the recovery from frost even at much lower temperatures like -10 degrees. The plant isn't damaged solely by the cold. It also suffers from the heat when the sun rises in the morning. In fact, it experiences its most significant damage at that sunrise. This is because the flower, having been chilled throughout the entire night, suddenly comes into contact with the sun's intense heat in the morning, its cell walls are torn apart, and it loses its vital sap. I like illustrating this point with an example that our farmers can understand. For instance, if you place a fish into a hot pan without first adding any oil, due to the extremely rapid heat transfer, specifically through the process of conduction, the surface of that fish will burn and stick to the pan, causing significant damage. However, if some oil is poured into that hot pan and then the fish is placed in it, we delay the burning time of that fish. This is precisely the same system that our fogging machines operates. It's all about delaying the process. Machines fog delays adverse effects, both extreme cold and intense heat. Because our fogging machines allow antifreeze oil and aviation oil to deeply penetrate the surface of the plants, covering them with an invisible antifreeze layer. This prevents them from ice formation, getting freezed. It also prevents and delays them from burning in the heat, Mr. Onur.
Now, we've discussed the effects of each oil and when and how to use them, but we also need to consider life's harsh realities, their pricing aspect. What will be its daily cost of oil once we start using these fogging machines?
Of course, every single service comes with a certain cost. This is separate from the machine's depreciation and its equipment costs. Our machines are among the highest quality fogging machines available anywhere in the entire world. We export to more than 80 countries. We provide these machines to the World Food Organization, the World Health Organization. The average lifespan of the machine, whether small, medium, or large, is 10 years. With proper maintenance, it can last up to 15 years. A farmer will pay for the machine just once and then be able to use that machine equipment for 15 years, Mr. Onur. However, there is also the cost associated with oil consumption. Some of our farmers will consume oil to fight frost for just one night in the year, while others might use it for 2 or even 3 nights a year. I have calculated the total cost for these scenarios so that our farmers watching on screen can easily make their own oil cost calculations. The oil cost while fighting with frost with these machines for 1 hour of fogging of 1 decare is $1.9 only. In other words, $1.90. I'm stating this in dollars for our viewers watching. This is because if there are any exchange rate changes in the coming years, our farmers can easily calculate their up-to-date costs. So, the cost of performing 1 hour of fumigation for 1 decare of land is $1.90. Now I will do a very simple calculation. Fogging of 200 decares of land, which is 20 hectares, for 3 hours of fumigation. So we multiply 200 with 3 hours. And the cost of fogging of 1 decares during 1 hour was $1.90. Let's add this as well. Briefly, the cost for 1 night of fumigating of 200 decares of land for 3 hours is equal to $1,140, Mr. Onur. And when I divide this by decare, I divided it by 200. So I divided $1,140 by 200 decares. This means the cost of fogging of 1 decares for 3 hours non-stop is $5.7 only. Now let's say he did this for 2 nights or 3 nights. Our farmers can calculate this themselves. I believe the cost of protecting 1 decare with 3 hours fumigation being only $5.7 is slightly more expensive than free. Unfortunately, to this money, you cannot even buy a sandwich. That's why we think it's economical.
We've also talked about the machine and application stages a bit, and we've made a cost calculation, but when should we start the application? The start time is important for us considering Turkey, and we constantly want to remember the disaster we experienced last year. When should we start?
The initial start time is very crucial, Mr. Onur, to save the crops from frost. We said, if the machine is working and fogging, it's fulfilling its own duty. But also, the operator's initial start time is extremely important. I recommend small farmers with small fields to hang flags in their field to observe the wind speed. Or I recommend them to observe the wind speed by burning hay or rubber. If the smoke has gently spread across the terrain, no longer rising, and if it covered the area like an umbrella, then he should begin the smoking process. or say if the flag is no longer moving, then they should begin the fogging process. Experienced farmers know exactly when they need to begin this process. They can sense the frost. However, I am providing this explanation for farmers who do not have enough experience in this field. Well, at the same time, there are professional farmers whose thermometers have a smart information system. That's excellent. I mean, to start by establishing a reference point, relying on data on a solid foundation, is always something I prefer. To summarize, when the air temperature approaches +2, +1 degree, and when the wind speed becomes 10 kilometers per hour, agricultural frost protection fight must begin. Attention, you must start before temperature drops to 0 degree. There is a hint that can definitively and absolutely predict the start of agricultural frost. I have personally experienced this in the fields, and with agricultural engineers, we have extensively applied its practical implementation. So here it is. The temperature, let's imagine it's 7 degrees at 1 a.m. Then by 2 a.m., it's already dropped from 7 to 6 and then to 5 degrees. It's falling 1 degree every single hour. After this regular 1 degree decreases, if it suddenly drops from 5 degrees to 2, for instance, from that significant leap, sudden drop, we understand that agricultural frost will definitely happen within half an hour. The same applies to wind speed. When the wind speed, let's say, which was 20 kilometers per hour, begins to gradually decrease, falling to 19, then 18 kilometers per hour, and then suddenly drops significantly, perhaps by 5 or even 6 kilometers per hour, we understand that within approximately half an hour, frost damage is likely to occur. The starting time for fogging is detailed and explained on our dedicated website, whitefog.com. The reason why I'm going into details with these explanations, Mr. Onur, is to educate our farmers to knowledgeably and consciously increase their crop recovery rates from frost.
Another question. Imagine that we came next morning and took a look at our garden. After the application, will we see any kind of residue or anything like that on our trees, buds? Will this fog leave any visual trace or mark?
If vegetable glycerin is used, or aviation oil is used, or even if a petroleum product like diesel fuel is used, because it sprays the oil in smoke form, the micron particles are exceedingly tiny. Unlike other turboatomizers, there's no washing, no dripping of liquid from the crops, so even if our farmers wanted to, they cannot leave any residue with this method. As it's applied in smoke form, oil can only be effective in that specific area for 12 hours, then disappears. I say 12 hours, but the farmer should not perceive this as providing 12 hours of protection, because fog coats the flower with a layer of oil. When there's wind and there's cold, this layer can dry out and disappear completely within an hour too, so that's essentially the summary of it. Mr. Gurol shed a lot of light on this subject for our farmers during the morning news broadcast. I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Gurol now.
And I must also mention this, sir. On top of not leaving any residue on flowers, buds and trees, it doesn't prevent pollination either.
So basically the oil sprayed in smoke form, whatever oil material is used, disappears in maximum 12 hours, and the particles are tiny that it cannot prevent pollination. This is one of the frequently asked questions of our agricultures. Hence, we are happy to underline that knowledge once for all. This is a very harm-free method in various aspects.
Now, when we're performing this application, can we adjust the density of the smoke? What should the density of fog be? What kind of approach will we be applying here?
Yes, we can adjust the fog density of the machines. As Mr. Emery also pointed out just a moment ago, there needs to be a dedicated operator on the field observing, and who must also maneuver the machine around according to the specific density requirements that we give.
Machines should be doing fogging according to recommended oil consumption per hour, not less to economize on oil or not more, as it wouldn't be necessary. The aim is to obtain a dense opaque fog everywhere in the field that you can't see through the fog.
If due to wind the fog starts to spread and become less dense, repeat the fogging to maintain an opaque fog. The more the fog is opaque, the more the warm ground heat is reflected back to Earth.
So actually in frost, once again, we see that operator's observation is very important here. Operator shouldn't just say, I've done my part, my job is finished, and simply walk away.
Let me explain it technically, Mr. Owner. Now, the smoke density per cubic meter is extremely important. As Mr. Gurol also mentioned, it's important to observe. If the smoke is sparse, like hay smoke or tire smoke, transparent, it will have a similar effect, and unfortunately, the frost protection rate will be low. The density of smoke per cubic meter is extremely important for the reflection of radiation back, and for Earth's heat preservation. This means that the thicker the blanket of smoke that spreads over that specific area, the more significant the protection it will ultimately provide. Let's explain it with a metaphor. In a very cold area in Turkey, like Uludağ Mountain, would we get cold if we pulled a thin sheet over us, or if we used a thick duvet? Of course, a thin sheet would be much less effective against the cold. Well, the principle is the same. Farmers understand better when I illustrate with this previous example. So basically, hay and tire smoke provide a very light protection like a thin sheet. But WhiteFog thermal fogging machines offer a thick, duvet-like layer of frost defense. This small machine of ours consumes 20 liters per hour. Our medium-sized machine, the SM700, is capable of vaporizing 60 liters of oil per hour. As for the ultra-fogger model, the biggest model, it is the highest capacity fogging machine commercially available and sold in the world, able to vaporize 100 liters of oil every single hour. This is a record-breaking level because the higher the amount of oil consumption of a machine, the more professional and efficient that machine is considered to be. The reason why it is 100 liters per hour is because at this amount, it creates a thick enough artificial cloud curtain and best protection. The higher the consumption per hour, the more protection it provides. However, we don't recommend more than that because a tractor's capacity to move around in the field is limited. Tractor moves with a maximum speed of 10 kilometers, an average speed of 7 kilometers per hour. When the ultra-fogger used by consuming 100 liters per hour and with tractor speed 7 kilometers per hour, the operator can come back to the initial point after 30 minutes in 200 decars of land. The dense smoke it releases into the air can already be dispersed and carried away by a light breeze. The more dense smoke it can emit and spread further, the more advantageous it is for our farmer.
Yes, it is advantageous.
In fact, this also more or less answers the question we're posing here. Of course, we'll elaborate on that. Now, before starting fogging or even after, as an operator I need to make observations. Also, how frequently will I need to move through the terrain? Even this needs to be based on operator's observation.
It absolutely depends on the density of fog. The objective is to release a very dense fog. Now, experienced farmers know this well. Agricultural frost sometimes doesn't settle uniformly across the entire field. For instance, on a 200 decare of land, while frost might settle on 30 decars, it may not affect the rest of the area. There can be a specific wind current there.
Yes, the land's conditions are having an effect.
Absolutely. So let's imagine agricultural frost just like flowing water. It can actually flow right through the land. So while the right and left sides of the field aren't affected by frost, the very center can be. There are many functions that are variable. The farmer needs to observe them carefully. As I explained at the start of the program, coordination and communication are very important. If the smoke drifted away from the fog spot, vehicle with the fogging machine must return and fog again. If the smoke isn't drifting, if it stayed there, then it can go to another area or section and continue fogging. As you said, observing the density of the smoke is always important, Mr. Onur.
Well, our viewers must be quite curious. We'll make a demonstration of these machines later on for them. But before, we've talked a lot about frost fight with these machines, but they are not only used in frost, but also in other applications. With this same machine, besides frost control, we can also perform insect, fungi spraying, and fertilization application. Could you please explain?
Of course, that's right. In pest control, for example, against the Mediterranean fruit fly, it is very easy to carry an aerial control. I'd like to pass the word to Mr. Gurol for insect control and fertilizing applications. Just before I pass the microphone, I would like to demonstrate to the farmers how this machine works. As you can clearly see, it's incredibly practical. This is the hand shoulder-carried portable machine. It is ideal for protecting small lands from frost, lands between 1.5 and 3 hectares. It has a jet engine. We recommend these machines to all farmers. There are those who try to create fog by dripping diesel into the tractor's exhaust. There's absolutely no need for that. Unfortunately, just to emit diesel smoke, they damage the tractor's mechanization equipment. As a result, engine's pistons get damaged. Because of this, after 1 or 2 years, the tractor's engines or chassis blows. I strongly recommend they acquire thermal fogging machines as a fixed assets, as these won't damage any other equipment. And also, just as you mentioned, these machines are also used for pest control at the same time. I now let Mr. Gurol answer our farmers' questions concerning fungicide application, pest control, and foliar liquid fertilizers with these machines.
Now, we have already stated that it is utilized in insect control, fungi control, and also in liquid fertilizer application, but how exactly these are performed? The oil we use in these machines can also mix with chemical insecticide, etc. When we apply the insecticide, fungicide, or fertilizer in a smoke form, it covers the entire plant, and every single part of the plant gets thoroughly treated. Since the substance is sprayed as a fog, it is far more effective than other pest control methods, especially garden sprayer equipment's dripping substance to the soil and only touching to the above surface of the plants but not under. Imagine the smoke during frost completely envelops the entire plant, covering it and protecting it just like a warm blanket. In the same way, when you're applying pesticide, if you mix the insecticide into oil, it then coats every single surface of the plant so comprehensively that practically every part of the plant becomes thoroughly treated, leaving absolutely no section untouched or unsprayed. In the conventional classic spraying methods that we are accustomed to, when the spraying machine enters the field and passes through a certain spot, you might notice that the plant's backside, its leaves, its right and left sides may not have been sprayed.
Yes, according to the machine that is used.
With this machine, you would do less frequent insect treatment as you kill the entire population in once, and you economize on insecticide used and time.
This also increases the quality of the crops, as you apply much less insecticide treatment on them.
So briefly, one single machine with multiple functions. Farmers can use it against frost in harsh winter conditions and can use it against insect control, fungicide control, and fertilizer application in other seasons. It is a must-have machine for any farmer. As Mr. Emery previously mentioned, the machine's life durability is minimum 10 years, and with regular maintenance goes up to 15 years. Its return on initial investment is in many folds.
So does the same logic apply to liquid fertilizer?
Yes, the same logic applies to liquid fertilizer. Again, we mix a small amount of liquid fertilizer into the oil, which then is given to plants from the leaves.
All right, as an agriculture, I buy this as a fogging machine. I can perform both insect control and fertilizing, but am I doing this with the usual insecticide or the regular liquid fertilizer that I buy, or is there something extra and different to use?
That's a very good question. Technically, we prefer EC formulations that are fluid, Mr. Owner. These machines disperse the liquid in vapor form by using heat in small micron particles. For this reason, we specifically recommend the use of fluid EC formulation pesticides, primarily for pests such as the red spider mite, the Mediterranean fruit fly, Tuta absoluta, and thrips, etc. There are already existing EC formulation pesticides available. So, what are the different formulations? To visualize easily, you can buy vitamin C in tablet, in syrup, or in powder form. It's the same for many medications. The insecticide with deltamethrin active ingredient, for instance, also has its liquid EC formulation. There's also SC formulation that has a thick yogurt-like consistency. Then there is powder version. For our machines, the farmers should prefer liquid insecticide, so EC form. Regarding the insecticide, it is applied in fog form by adding some into the fog oil in the tank. Not a single spot on the tree or on the fruit or product remains untouched. This allows contact-effective treatments to precisely target and eliminate pests and fungi. Could a single pest or fungus escape from this smoke, It is not possible since the fog goes through it. It eliminates them all. We talked about the EC form, but if farmer applies the insecticide with vegetable glycerin, then it's possible to mix with water and use powdered pesticides as well. Saw briefly not only the EC types, but it's also possible to mix a little water and use the SC or powder type insecticides. Farmers can also mix not only insecticides, but also fungicides. Pesticides, fungicides. Farmer can mix all of these together and apply them too. Foliar liquid fertilizers are also like that. Farmer mix fog oil, water, and foliar liquid fertilizer, then apply it by fogging. The foliar liquid fertilizer precisely penetrates the plant's stomata. Not a single spot on the plant remains untouched. Thanks to this method, a highly efficient, economical, and effective spraying operation is carried out, Mr. Onur. The surface area it covers is incredibly vast. There isn't even a single point that remains untouched. The effective range of its impact is extensive. It can penetrate a minimum of 200 meters and on average up to 2 kilometers with wind. Not a single pesticide particle drops and wasted on the ground. It can instantly kill with contact effect a Mediterranean fruit fly 2 kilometers away.
Actually, the logic we use for frost, it applies here too.
Yes, municipalities have been using it for years. For instance, the Antalya Metropolitan Municipality is a local government that possesses the largest spraying team in Turkey, and indeed in the entire world. They acquired 250 machines from us, and different quantities of our other machines too. If the Antalya Metropolitan Municipality, Turkey's leading pest control institution, chooses this machine for mosquito and black fly spraying, our farmers can also effectively utilize it by simply adding the specific active ingredient for any pest they want to eliminate, such as the Mediterranean fruit fly, thrips, or Tuta absoluta. Many farmers don't know thermal fogging method. They can read about it on our website, or they can contact our company to learn more. The machine is very economical, we said. So, for instance, for the deltamethrin active ingredient pesticide, per default on the insecticide label, it is recommend 100 grams per decare, which means 100 grams per 100 liters. Our machine provides a 90% saving in active ingredient use. So in pesticides, fungicides, and liquid fertilizers, but let's assume even less, just 50%. Because, as I said, no chemical product is wasted by falling to the ground. It prevents any runoff or dripping. It applies contact-effective chemicals in a highly efficient manner. Based on this logic, what that means is, instead of putting 100 grams for every decare or 100 liters, when using our machine, you put in just 50 grams and apply it. With this small fog machine that we're seeing right in front of us, it's possible to spray 10 decares of land in exactly 10 minutes, using 4.5 liters of fog oil and 500 grams of deltamethrin pesticide. This means saving time, saving pesticide, saving labor, and there's no need to hire additional personnel. Farmer fogs the land for only 10 minutes and pesticide is quickly and effectively done, Mr. Onur.
We are slowly reaching to the end of our program. After we close the program, we will fog this entire field here. Before closing, let's get a final word from Mr. Gurol. Then we will say goodbye.
I would like to elaborate one final point. When you consider the ergonomic design of our machine, the active ingredient is expulsed from the tip section with some distance from its most heated area. The primary reason for this design choice is to ensure the chemical can be utilized without being burned and thus losing its essential properties. We observe in some of other thermal fog brands, Chinese models, etc., to make the smoke denser, they expulse or introduced oil or chemical from a spot very close to the hot zone. The nozzle is short. It is absolutely not recommended. I particularly wanted to make this point clear. Such technologies burn the active ingredient entirely.
Thank you very much. Mr. Emery, we'd like to hear a few final words from you before we conclude our program.
First of all, we thank you for your time. I'd also like to extend my sincere thanks to Mr. Alper Alhat, Chairman of the Board of Alatoglu Olive, the brand of Best Oleo, for allowing us to use his olive grove for our on-site interview. Mr. Alper Alhat is one of the most important and significant leaders in Akhisar for sure. He's the president of the Akhisar Chamber of Commerce as well. He's a leader in olive and olive oil production, and all related activities you can think of associated with oil. He does amazing work to advance the agricultural industry. He is the driving force behind recycling and reusing all olive waste products from start to end. For example, the water used in olive production is in very high tonnages. He is conducting researches to recycle this wastewater. I find this very admiring. So our country is currently experiencing a severe problem of water shortage. Unfortunately, there have been situations where the water in our dams was almost completely depleted. Mr. Alper is developing many projects and making considerable efforts on how this water can be effectively recycled. This particular type of water is referred to as black water, Mr. Owner. Now that black water contains important elements like phosphorus and potassium. And Mr. Alper, observing these qualities, this inherent potential, was contemplating how we might best utilize this black water and restore it to nature. He was carrying out a study as the Golden Water Project. This gold meaning it transforms black water into golden water. Now instead what he does by treating this wastewater with bacteria, instead of dumping it into the garbage or the sewage system, he obtains a fertilizer. He is one of the key individuals who, by converting waste to fertilizer, returns the minerals taken from nature, phosphorus, potassium and water, back to the olive trees, providing fertilization and nourishment, and also manages this project. I would like to conclude by sharing the slogan of Mr. Alper, which is, "Don't break hearts, break olives." His benevolent projects for agriculture is very much appreciated and inspiring. And concerning this leadership, I truly hope that by also guiding other farmers who possess an even more advanced and forward-looking vision, it will contribute significantly to the progress and development of this region, and I firmly believe it will.
Thank you very much. Our dear viewers, we've learned about combating agricultural frost together with WhiteFog Company today. We hope to see you in another program from another city and region of Turkey. Till next time, please stay well.
WhiteFog presented its Artificial Cloud Technology Agricultural Frost Control Program.